Hello beautiful faces, thanks for stopping by, whether you are new or returning. So I thought that it was time for another book haul, but this one is specifically going to be a manga, manhwa, daime sort of haul. So this is just going to be all of the latest manga that I have bought. Majority of this is BL, but I've got two singular volumes that are not, and they're probably going to be the ones that I start with. So like I said, the first two volumes, they're not BL, but everything else in the rest of this video is BL. So I guess watch like the tiny first bit if you're not a BL fan. And then yeah, if you are a BL fan, then let's just get right into it. I absolutely love manga, and I've been wanting to expand my manga collection and also just read more manga. So this haul just makes me like so excited right now. So the first book I got is a part of a sort of like romantic slash slice of life series that I started last year. This is the third volume of Opposites Attract. So this is cute slice of life for people that loves dogs. So you've got the male main character who owns a Pomeranian and the girl main character that owns a Rottweiler, and they become friends because their dogs are friends. Like their dogs like bump into each other on a walk one day and then they become friends like that way and things like that. So this is the third volume. Now I will read you the back of this one even though it is the third volume. There are a couple of books today where I've got more than one, but with those ones I'll probably only read you the back for the first volume, not like every single one. However, I will read you the back of this one. But first of all, look at the cover. Is that not like the cutest cover you ever did see? Like, it's just so adorable. But like I mentioned, this is the third volume. Kiyotaka musters up the courage and invites Chicharu on a short getaway, hoping for some bonding time outside their usual walks. The two, along with their pups, Subu-chan and Monjuru, head to Komika Ina Asaka, a local dog-friendly bed and breakfast, and run into yet another familiar face, Chako, a classmate of Kiyotaka's younger brother Takayaka, and her family run the inn. Aided by their dependable old Shiba Aniki, Kiyotaka and Chicharu, Chako, and Takayaka, each pair takes a step closer together and makes some new friends too on a staycation filled with warm memories for pups and people alike. This, I personally believe, it has like the tiniest bit of romance, because I read this and definitely thought that the male main character had the hots for the female main character, but I also could be wrong, but I think that it might be. It's slice of life and friendship now. It might get a little romantic towards the end of it, perhaps. I don't think it's going to be like spicy or anything like that. This is very, very slice of lifey, heavily evolving the relationship they have with their dogs. But I also just think that there's like the tiniest bit, because I do think that he's got the hots for the girl. But yeah, but I've been loving this series so far. I read the first two volumes last year and just absolutely adored it. It is so cute and wholesome. If you just want something easy, fun, light, is going to make you very happy. I was smiling ear to ear while reading this. It's just the cute, it is, seriously, it's like the cutest thing I've ever read. Next, I got the first volume of Food Wars. This is another series that I'd actually heard very good things about. And I'd heard that it's just another, it's fun, it's silly. I have heard it's a little goofy and things like that, but just to take it for what it is sort of vibes. So it's not trying to take itself too seriously. And obviously it revolves around food, and I like food. Anyways, the back of it says, Soma Yukihira's old man runs a small family restaurant in the less savoury end of town. Aiming to one day surpass his father's culinary prowess, Soma hones his skills day in and day out until one day, out of the blue, his father decides to enroll Soma in a classy culinary school. Can Soma really cut it in a school that prides itself on a 10% graduation rate? And can he convince the beautiful domineering heiress of the school that he belongs there at all. So maybe there might be a tiny bit of romance in this one as well, if that very last bit of the blurb is anything to go by. Now this, when I finally read this, and I'm not entirely sure when I'll start this, because it's a big boy. There's, I think, 30 volumes of this. 30 volumes of this! It's one of the reasons why I just love, like, romantic BLs, because, like, I think the romantic BL series I know of that has the most amount of volumes is 10 count with 6. Bitch, this has 30. I know I wanted to read it, which is why I bought it. But the fact that there are 30 volumes, it's making me like slightly intimidated. So I will obviously start it eventually. I just don't know specifically when. Like, it's got to be when I'm ready to jump into a 30 plus volume series like this one. Now we're going to get into all of the BL. So this includes mostly manga, but I've also got some manhwa and one singular danmi. So if you're unaware what all these terms mean, manhwa is just, it's the Korean word for manga, I'm pretty sure. And then danmi is like the Chinese word for manga. I'm pretty sure that manhwa and danmi are just like their languages for the word manga, I'm pretty sure. But I have also heard that danmi specifically refers to BL related stuff. I could be wrong. That's what I heard. So I'm pretty sure that that's what that means, but like, maybe don't quote me. Anyways, we're just gonna get into all of the BL now, starting with Jackass. This is the only standalone in today's video. Everything else is a part of a series. You can kind of mostly tell when something is a standalone, because with mangas, if this section is white and the writing is colourful, it's a part of a series. But if the background is colourful and the writing is either just white or black, that's kind of how you can tell that it is a standalone. So this one says, Kisuki's incredibly handsome best friend Masayuki has always rubbed him just a little bit the wrong way. Maybe it's because Masayuki is rich, carefree, and so stunningly handsome that he can, and does, have any girl he wants. But one day, when Kisuki accidentally wears his older sister's pantyhose to gym class, it's suddenly his hot friend who's doing the rubbing on Kisuki's pantyhose-clad legs. He has unwittingly unleashed a secret fetish that will change their relationship forever. So this one also is giving like it's probably going to be a little bit silly, but it is also going to be spicy. This one was plastic wrapped. I have taken everything out of its plastic wrap. And you know what? I probably will mention most of these were plastic wrapped, which is code for a lot of these are spicy, just to warn you. Like if spice isn't your thing or something like that. So this is spicy. Pretty much most of everything else I'm going to talk about today is spicy. But this one just sounds, it just looks fun. It looks silly, like light-hearted BL. Because I do love a lot of, you know, action-packed, scary, mafia-related BLs. And I've got some today we're going to chat about. But this looked like it would be a good palette cleanser between all of the dark stuff that I enjoy. And it's also a great standalone, so if I don't want to commit to a series, I can just pick this one up. One and done, have you fun. Next, I grabbed the first volume of Jealousy. The back of this book, I am not going to show you. But the back of the book was just absolutely diabolical. I can read you the blurb, that's fine, but I am not showing you the picture. But the picture made me was like, oh yeah, you're coming with me sort of thing. So this says, Uichi Roji is in a bind, both literally and figuratively, when he meets Akitora Oyamatio, the Yakuza head who's come to collect a debt from Uichi's lover. Instantly smitten, Uichi conducts dubious and often dangerous schemes to get closer to the man. But his lies come at a heavy price, one he may regret having to pay for Akitora's affections. So this does have a little bit of a mafia plot line. Yakuza is the Japanese mafia. Surely everyone knows that. But yeah, that's what Yakuza is. And it just sounded so good. I picked up, because I saw the back of the book and was like, oh, you're coming with me. But then I read the back and was like, yeah, you're coming with me. It sounds so good. It feels like, you know, dark. It feels like it'll be dark and gritty, but it might also have the tiniest bit of a cutesy element to it, perhaps. But it's also going to be dark and gritty. So maybe like My Golden Blood, like, you know how that's dark and gritty, but it also is cutesy at the same time. That's kind of what this is giving, and so it is so up my alley, and I cannot wait to start this. Next, I got the second volume of Love Nest. So I read the first volume last year and really enjoyed myself. This second volume, though, was quite difficult to get a hold of, and I will tell you why. Because the next two volumes I got were volumes 1 and 2 of Love Nest Second. And on Amazon, I tried to buy the second volume of Love Nest, but it was automatically putting Love Nest Second in my cart instead. Now, I was lucky enough to find Love Nest at Dimmicks, so I ended up buying it because I think you do need to read this before you can dive into this. So Love Nest, the first volume, like I said, I read that last year. So it's these two dudes, and one guy's like, he's kind of lonely, and I think there's like works going on in his apartment, so he wants to live elsewhere. A friend of his says like, oh, you know, I've got this place, but I don't really use it, like you can live there, but I also just want to warn you that somebody else is also living there, so you'd be sharing with this guy. And so that's how like the two main people in that book meet. And then it goes from there. There's also a bit of an age gap because the guy that's already living there, so the one that he has to share with, is a little older than him. But I liked it. This one, it was cute. It was very domestic, and I really enjoyed myself. So I knew I wanted to dive into that second volume, but it was just very, very, very hard to come by. And Amazon, like I said, it was being pretty weird about it. It was putting like Love Nest Second in there. It was weird. Anyways, I found this at Dimmicks, so I grabbed it. So I'm going to read this. Then when I'm done with this, I can go straight into, this is Love Nest Second. So I think Love Nest Second, so I think Love Nest is about like how they get together. And then Love Nest Second is like troubles and tribulations that they might go through that when they're already together. So I will read you the blurb of the first volume of Love Nest Second, which says, Masato and Asahi went from odd couple roommates to live in lovers and are now enjoying their honeymoon phase to its fullest. But Masato can't help but feel frustrated that he is unable to share with his family and friends that Asahi is his special someone, and Asahi isn't helping matters by acting so suspiciously. Just where is he sneaking off to? Now, I kind of laughed when I read this because Asahi, I know it as like a brand name for a beer. But like, who says it can't be a name? Who says it can't be a name? People are naming their children the weirdest things. Like Gwyneth Paltrow naming her daughter Apple. Like, come on, that's weird as. But I love Love Nest, and I cannot wait to dive into the rest of the series now that I actually finally can. Because Love Nest Second, like, that was pretty easy. I could easily buy that from Amazon. But like I was saying, it was just this second volume of the original Love Nest that was hard to come by, and I didn't want to start this before I'd read this. But now I own this, so I'm going to read this, then I'm going to start this. Next, I got the first two volumes of The Dragon's Betrothed. So this one's got a little bit of a fantasy edge to it, which I love a fantasy BL. I loved My Golden Blood. I love to revamp. I love me a good fantasy BL, and that is exactly what this is. So I will read you the blurb for the first volume. So, troubled rider Chicharu Izumi reluctantly returns to his rural hometown, hoping some R&R will refresh his creative juices. Instead of finding respite, he's quickly entangled by an old promise to wed a local god, Rin, the water dragon god to whom Chicharu has been betrothed. Can he disarmingly friendly and charming, but inside lurks an animalistic ferocity. Can Chicharu escape Rin's protective embrace, or is his fate already written? So maybe like urban fantasy perhaps, maybe, or who knows, maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe there's a city, maybe there isn't a city, I'm not entirely sure, but it was giving that it could possibly be a little on the urban side, while of course still being a fantasy. But either way, this looked really good, like something that I would definitely read and definitely have a fun time reading. I'll wait to pick this up eventually. Like I say, like I can't wait to pick all of these up, but when specifically I'll pick these up, I'm not entirely sure, just because I want to read all of these. But as you know, I'm also a gigantic lover of regular Western books, and I have those that I want to get to as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not exclusively a manga person. I love manga, but I also love Western books, and I read both, so anyways, I will read this eventually. Next is the first volume of Sleeping on Paper Boats. Now, I've already read this one and I really enjoyed myself. I really liked it. It's a period piece set in the 40s and the 60s, because about like halfway through you do have a bit of a time jump sort of vibes, and I loved this and I cannot wait to continue on. But it says, Ki Kitahara, a visionary screenwriter who has taken post-war Japan by storm, has made the difficult decision to lay down his pen for good after he realizes the people he's been basing his characters on have all met unfortunate ends. He spends his days in misery, waiting to die, until a reason to live finds him in the gutter, too drunk and beaten to move. Ki can't help but be attracted to his saviour's bewitching innocence, and the urge to write about him grows stronger by the day. Knowing he can't take the risk, he vows never to use his pen against him, but will temptation prove too great? So, like I said, I've already read this one, really enjoyed myself, can't wait to get into the rest of the volumes. Next is Worst Soulmate Ever. Now, I have read this one as well, really enjoyed it. There's a sequel called Worst Soulmate Ever Proposal, which I cannot wait to read, but this says, impatient 29-year-old Omega Shishikura has watched all of his friends get married while his own romances keep fizzling out. Determined to find his special someone, he turns to a matchmaking service. But while waiting for his perfect soulmate to be found, he goes into heat at the worst possible moment, alone with Alpha Kitoni, a new co-worker who nurses a long-time grudge against Shishikura. After they spend a desperate, steamy night together, there's no doubt that the two are physically compatible, but do they even like each other? So this is an Omegaverse fiction, and it is the first piece of Omegaverse work that I've ever read that wasn't a fan fiction. So when I delve into this, I wasn't new to Omegaverse. I'd read Omegaverse before, but it was primarily Omegaverse fan fiction. So I read a lot of like K-pop fan fiction and Thai idol fan fiction and things. And so I wasn't new to Omegaverse, but this was my first Omegaverse properly published with its own original characters and things like that. And I really liked it. I actually really liked it, and I want to read the Proposal sequel because I just think that it'll be fun. This one, again, it's also a bit of an office romance because they both work in the same office, so it's Omegaverse but make it cutesy and just, you know, it was so fun. It was so fun. This is like hella spicy though. This gets like a 4 chili spice, like, and I can't say that for most of these because I haven't read most of these, but I'd read this one, so I can give you like my ratings and things, and I really liked it. I don't know what you want me to say. I like Omegaverse. I know that is very niche and not everyone feels the same, but I love it. Rightio, this is the last Japanese manga before we get into some other countries. So this is called How to Deal When Your Intimidating Neighbor is Actually an Omega. So this is another Omegaverse work. Now, this was originally going to be a standalone, but supposedly this has done so well that she has decided to write a sequel. Well, I shouldn't say supposedly did so well. It has done so well, and she's getting a sequel. I think I may have just used the word supposedly because I am yet to read this one. But it says, a college-aged alpha lives next door to a scary-looking hottie who he assumes is an alpha too. But shockingly, encounter will correct that assumption. An irresistible tattooed omega living next door. What's a virgin alpha to do? A suspenseful and erotic new Omegaverse manga. So, it just, I don't know, it just looks cool. It's also giving, it's not going to be traditional. What I would classify as traditional is an experienced, or not necessarily experienced, but I mean, someone's a virgin in here. But anyways, what I would classify as like traditional is like a domineering top alpha getting with a submissive bottom omega. That is what I perceive to be as traditional in a sense, and it's also the most amount of work that I have read has that sort of a pairing. Now, you can have any kinds of pairings you like in Omegaverse, because you can still have it be alpha omega, but you can have the alpha be submissive, you can have the alpha be the bottom, which I think that's what this story might be about. You can have the omega be top, you can have the omega be dominating, but you can also have same pairings. So you can have an omega getting with another omega, an alpha getting with another alpha, you can have an alpha getting with a beta getting with a beta, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can do whatever you like. So this one is going to break the traditional stereotypes, which I think would be really cool and interesting to read about. Now, I only have one danme in the video, so I'm going to talk about that now. It is the first volume of Mistakenly Saving the Villain, and I have read this. Now, this is kind of like what's known as a light novel. So what that means, kind of, is that it is a proper book. There are some pictures in here, but it's not like a manga where it's a graphic novel with a lot of pictures. This is kind of more like my Western books, but it is a Chinese book, not a like American or Australian or something along those lines. This is still a Chinese book, so it is still referred to as a BL danme, but it's not like a graphic novel with a ton of pictures and text blurbs and stuff like that. So, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. There's nothing against anything like that. I actually really enjoyed myself and cannot wait to dive into the next one. I think there is going to be a second volume. It's just not out yet. But not everyone is meant to be saved. When medical student Song Kinshi, now I say Kinshi because I think in a different video I called him Quinshi because it is spelt Quinshi. So I thought it was pronounced Quinshi. However, you get to the end of this book and it does give you like character names. It also tells you a little bit about proper Mandarin pronunciation, and I've been saying it wrong. It is Kinshi. So when medical student Song Kinshi dies and wakes up in a historical fantasy novel, he's tasked with rescuing the tragic protagonist from a life of misery. There's just one problem. He has no idea who the protagonist is. Instead of saving the hero, Song Kinshi accidentally rescues Yu Wuhan, an enslaved man renowned for his striking beauty and trained in the art of seduction. Now determined to help his traumatized new patient heal, Song Kinshi offers everything he can. Medicine, therapy, emotional support, even a shared bed. Strictly for his patient's well-being, of course. But Yu Wuhan wants more than healing. He wants revenge. And most of all, he wants Song Kinshi all to himself. So, it was just, I loved it. I actually really, really loved it. It was so unique. Unlike anything I'd ever read before, because he was basically like a character in a novel, and it was like a novel brought to life sort of vibes. Obviously, also, it was my first ever Chinese danme as well, and I have saved so many danme online that I cannot wait to get to. There are so many. I saved one that's called My Husband and I Sleep in a Coffin. I save one called Copper Coins. I save one called Heaven's Official Blessing. Like, I have saved so many that just sound like amazing because I loved this so much. So I'm a Danmy girl now. I honestly, like, it's so cool. It is so fun. I had such a good time with this, and yep, don't know what else to say. We are moving on to manhwa, so these are all Korean stories. Now, I got the first volume of Painter in the Night. Now, what I love about manhwa is a lot of them are in full colour. Full colour. So, manga is quite well known for just being black and white. It's just printed in black and white. Which, fine, I can deal with that, fine, easy, whatever. Manhwa is usually, or at least all of the ones I will show you today, have been printed in full colour. Which is, I love that. Like I said, I can deal with the black and white, it's fine, it's not really a bad thing. But I do like the fact that these are full colour. I definitely would have preferred manga to be in full colour. But I think that costs more money. I don't know. Korea's willing to spend it. Japan's not. I don't know. I could be wrong. Take that with a grain of salt. My whole point is that Painter in the Night and all the other manhwas I'm going to show you today have been printed in full colour, which makes me very, very, very happy. Now, this has got a bit of a dark romance edge to it, and just, you know, I love me a dark romance. So, we're reading this. I've heard so many good things. So many good things. Like, I basically need to read this pronto because everyone else has been telling me that I need to read this pronto. So, a dark romance about a painter who refuses to paint and a nobleman who will do anything to make him. The boys' love manhwa sensation finally makes its way to English print. Baek Nakyum once made a living painting gay erotica, yet this talented artist has since abandoned his brush, vowing never to create lewd art again. This doesn't stop Yoon Seon-ho, a young nobleman notorious for his insatiable lust and volatile temper, from seeking him out and demanding Nakyum become his own private painter. Despite his reluctance, Nakyum is pulled into Seon-ho's world, one tinged with danger and desire in equal measure. Will Nakyum be able to satiate his new patron's lust for erotic art, or will the line between artist and subject become inevitably blurred? Like, I'm sorry, that's like one of my favourite things I think in the entire haul today. It just sounds so good. So up my alley. Like, dark romance, I make it Korean. Like, and I love K-pop. Like, and I watch a lot of K-dramas and things like that. And just, I need to read this pronto. Next, I got the first 3 volumes of The Big Apple. So, volume number 1, volume number 2, and then volume number 3. So, the first volume I got from Dimmix, but the second 2 volumes I got from Minotaur. Minotaur is a specialty bookshop in the city which specialise in Asian books, but they also specialise in fantasy. It's double story. So up the top, so the top level's like the Asian level. You get manga, manhwa, danmi, Thai books, all of that good stuff. But then you go downstairs and it's very Marvel comics, but also fantasy novels. So like books that might be written by Brandon Sanderson or Sarah J. Maas and things like that. So I love Minotaur, and I only recently found out that it existed, but like I basically told them that I will be a regular customer. So I'm only going to read you the blurb for the first volume. Love is not bulletproof. Jo Chim has a deadly secret. He's a hitman for the SIA, the Secret Intelligence Agency, a covert organization whose operatives possess special abilities. Working in the shadows, Jo Chim is a trained professional assigned dangerous missions that he executes to perfection. Yet, despite his aptitude for the job, Jo Chim hates it. He's constantly caught up in daydreams about quitting his risky life and trading it all for peaceful bliss with his handsome and generous lover, Jun Elzia. But quitting the agency is easier said than done. When Jo Chim's latest mission goes awry, he determines to do whatever is necessary to keep Jun safe, even if it means breaking off their relationship and going dark. Except Jun isn't ready to give up so easily. A gorgeously illustrated BL webtoon about a man leading a double life and his handsome lover who will stop at nothing to save their relationship. So again, it's going to be action-packed, and I love anything that is action-packed. You know, some of my all-time favourite BLs are like those action-packed ones. Pit Babe, Jack and Joker, The Bangkok Boy, like Kin Porsche. I love them all. And so this one looked cool. I thought that I would get the first 3, start with that. I think at the moment, I think there are 5 volumes out, if I remember correctly. I think there's 5. But we're just starting with these 3. I'm not going to buy all 5 because you never know. I could read this and hate it and like regret life decisions. I doubt that very much. This is like very up my alley, so I doubt that very much. But you just never know, so I'm not going to buy all 5 unless I read the first 3, absolutely froth it, then I'll get the other 2. But I'm excited to start this either way. Lastly, we have my most recent purchase, which are the first 2 volumes of Wet Sand. Now, I was able to find these at a bookstore at Southland. Now I had saved Wet Sand on Amazon because I really wanted to read it, but there was no need to buy on Amazon because I saw it at that bookstore and I purchased these. Obviously, there's more than 2 volumes and I'll get those from Amazon, or you know what I mean. But again, with the Big Apple, I'm just going to start with the first 2 and read them and see what I think first of all. Let me read you the back. 3 men, 1 tangled web of love, power and crime. So I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a little bit of a white shoe situation, and like BL white shoes, like Asian white shoes. I've never read that before, so this intrigues me so much. When a chance encounter brings earnest photographer Jo into the orbit of the aloof and gorgeous Ian, Jo falls hard. An undeniable attraction simmers between them, and Jo is determined to break through Ian's indifference facade. But Ian's life isn't made for romance, as he works to free himself from his past life as a high-profile member of a dangerous gang and from TJ, his on-again, off-again lover. A power struggle threatens to erupt within the crime syndicate. If Ian isn't careful, events might spiral out of control, dragging him back into a world of corruption and murder. So that is what this one is about. It just looks like, it just sounds, not looks, it just sounds so amazing, so up my alley. It says Volume 1 collects episodes 1-13 of the web comic Wet Sand. And sorry, that is an iconic name. Wet Sand? Like, are you kidding? I am reading this pronto. It just looks so good. Well, that is it for today's haul. I just really wanted to give a manga haul today. I could have included some Western books because I've purchased a few new ones, but I might make that a separate video so it can give me more ideas for more content to film. I love filming book hauls. It's so fun. I also want to start doing this year, if you would have noticed, reading the backs of the books, because I've done a couple of book hauls in the past where I didn't read the backs of the books. But I want to start, when I do a haul, I want to start reading the backs of the books. So you can know what it's about and see if it's up your alley. But yep, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you love book just as much as I do. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.